This is my first Dhamma talk this year. I did take a little break to organize my thoughts. I went through a very interesting personal, growth. And amidst that process, I lost my voice. Not literally, but this is a figure of speech where I couldn't bring myself to talk. And right now, since things set in place, I'm happy to share a little bit of my journey. But before doing so, I want to pay respect to Maba's topic of Dhamma talks for this year, which is harmony in the society. And in order to understand what is harmony in the society, let us refer to the sutras. And the sutras are saying to us that when bhikkhus, or when people are dwelling in concord, harmoniously, without disputes, blending like milk and water, and look at each other with eyes of affection, this is a harmonious society. And how does a group become so well unified? We have another sutra that is explaining to us that it is done through practicing the harmony in the same viewpoints. Like, for example, right now, the world, we notice that becomes more and more polarized, and people with very different viewpoints on political system, on economical system, on a lot of different subjects. The more different our views become, the easier it is to have a conflict. So in order to have a harmonized society, we need to share same viewpoints. The next thing here is to share same precepts or same rules. If we're driving a car on the road, it is good that we follow the same rules. If one person decides that he wants to use left lane to turn to the right, probably that will create some kind of conflict with victims or something that is unfortunate, right? So again, if we want to have a harmonious society, we want to follow the same rules. If we want to create a society that works in harmony, we need to come up with the rules that everyone can agree that they're important to follow. The next point here is harmony in living together and taking good care of a place we're living in. If that's at home, then we're taking care of home. If that's the neighborhood, right, we also can be a good neighbor and serve others and help to benefit to our all well-being. If that's a city, be one who cares about a city's well-being, participate maybe in the meetings and do again over something good. Just being a good person is also taking care of the city, right? If we're talking about the country, or if we're talking about the earth, we are human beings, are all brothers and sisters in this planet, and it is upon us to take a good care of this place with love and respect to the Mother Earth. The next point here is the ability to speak without conflict. Arguments, difficulties, differences will eventually arise. You cannot avoid it. But this ability to express your opinion without blaming, without creating harsh speech, without saying bad words, is a very good thing to practice. If you were not given that from childhood, you probably will have to invest in that and learn how to navigate the conflict, navigate the disputes without wrongdoing, without hurting other people, and how in this situation find the best solution that works for everyone. Next point here is harmony in experiencing the Dharma bliss. We can transfer that into just our mundane world. if people are working together in the lab and they're researching, trying to come up with something new, they have this excitement, this joy of working together because they enjoy the process. And if that's happening, the climate, the atmosphere in the job site would be very, very nice to be present there, right? So if we want to have a harmonious society, that would be good if people are enjoying what they're doing. Again, it is not based on hatred, it is not based on delusion, it is just based on understanding of our purpose and working on our own selves and doing good for our own selves and for others. And the last here would be the harmony in sharing same benefits. For monastic community, whatever material support they receive from lay supporters, they try to share it equally, the same amount between everyone. But for a job site, it's about fairness, right? The one who maybe have a better experience, more knowledge, is receiving a better amount, bigger amount of money or material support, and the one who's less experienced is receiving less. It's based on fairness. So these are the great ways, 6 harmonies we call them, in order to be able to create the harmony in the community. But these are ideals, because I have a question. And the question is, have you ever seen a society like that, where people share the same viewpoints, where people follow the same rules, where they take care of the property, whatever they're in, and so on? I've never seen the society like that. And there is nothing wrong with that. We just need to understand that the ideal is the direction to strive for. But reality is not the ideal. Reality is what we have. And what we have is conflicts. Is people that are not unified. Is people that want to follow their own benefit, who does not want to do anything good sometimes for the society. We have very different type of people, right? And I came up with this talk during my personal retreat that I had alone in Maba Chaho for, I believe, 17 days. Before, I thought that I read all the important sutras, and especially whole Samyutta Nikaya book, but when I went to retreat, I found out that there is a second book that I didn't really pay much attention before, and this book was about sense organs. So I decided to dedicate my retreat to just silent meditation, of course, and reading Samyutta Nikaya, the second part of it, the edition by Bhikkhu Bodhi that consists of 2 different books. And what would I do? I would read maybe 1 or 2 or 3 sutras in a day. I would write them, I would highlight the main points, and then I would practice accordingly, trying to meditate on whatever I read, trying to fully understand it. And then next day I would reread it again and slowly learn the new information. So I would always reread, keep practicing, and add more. Reread, practice, and add more. That's how in those 17 days I read the whole chapter on sense organs, and I did realize quite a lot that I would like to share today. So before talking about sense organs, let's come back to 3 characteristics. We all know them, but it is important for us to remember that the main characteristic of our existence, of this world existence, is impermanence. Harmony cannot be permanent. Whatever good there is cannot be permanent. Whatever bad there is cannot be permanent. Our bodies are impermanent. People around us are impermanent. Our mind keep changing. Our ideas keep changing. People around us keep changing their ideas and thoughts about things. So I cannot expect the world always be in harmony, because that would be impossible, because this world is impermanent. And when I understand that impermanence exists, I see that it creates the inability to make me forever happy. At some point I will be happy, at some point I will be sad. It cannot always create the good conditions for just only happiness if we want to depend on things that are changing. Right? Things are changing, and that's why they are non-satisfactory, unsatisfactory, or how it's written here, suffering. And it's not always like a deep suffering, of course, but whatever that we think, well, if I get this, then I will be forever happy. That is where suffering comes. If we understand that even if I choose the best house, the best partner, the best job site, it's still going to be unsatisfactory, because this is the nature of this world. And this is how we can realize the non-self nature, because things keep changing. They're not personal. People do not choose to be that way. It is all coming from causes and conditions. So with that, we're coming back to the topic, to the point of sense organs. Here we have 3 things. Sense organ itself, for example, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, come together with the sense object that it perceived. Whatever I perceived, all the material things outside, we call them form. This is a short version of explanation what is we see. And we need to have consciousness. We call it eye consciousness together, because if you're sleeping and someone is opening your eyes, or if you're under anesthesia and someone is again opening your eyes, you're not going to see anything. Even the eye is present, the form is present, but without consciousness, the contact is not happening. So those 3 things make contact to arise, to happen. And when the contact is happening, then we have feelings. And they can be of 3 types: pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. Now, right here we have only 3 sense organs, because the conflict is perceived mostly through these 3, right? We look at people fighting, for example. This is the eye. The forms are people fighting. Or we hear with our ears that people are arguing or saying bad words to us. Of course, through the nose and through the mouth and through the body, you also can perceive the contact, the smell of the blood, for example, if people are fighting. Or if someone's punching me, maybe the taste of the blood in my tongue. Or maybe someone's punching me and I feel the pain in the body. And through the mind, of course, we can think about the conflict in our mind. So the thing is, when the sense organs are in contact with the sense object, and when consciousness is present, and when contact gives rise to feeling, they have, as I said, the nature to be either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And these numbers are just from my imagination. But I believe that it's somehow somewhere near like that in our whole life. Most of the information is neutral. And neutral is something to be ignored, unaware. The less amount is unpleasant sensations. And the smallest amount is pleasant sensations. And how we see that when we have neutral feelings, we develop ignorance about them. Just think about right now, you're listening or watching this video, how many things you do not pay attention. the temperature, maybe the sounds outside, maybe some machines are working, or cars are passing by, or birds are singing, or there's just a constant electrical noise from other buildings or whatever. There's a cushion or chair that you're sitting in, there's a cloth. There are billions of sense information that actually coming to you, but you don't really pay attention to it because it's not interesting. And probably if you're sitting for too long, you already have something here. And maybe you enjoy the talk a little bit, and maybe there is some pleasantness here. The problem is we only want to have the smallest amount of the feelings that is presented here, the pleasant ones. And we think that if we want that it will happen. And in reality, we kind of ignore and push away all the other 90% of the life. Those things do happen right now. They did happen before, and they will happen in the future. And whatever we wish, whatever we're longing for to change, oh, I only want to hear people say nice words to me. Oh, I only want to see harmony outside. Oh, I only want to find people being joyful, pleasant, happy, and so on. And that will make me happy. And that will make me feel good. And again, only if everything is fine outside, then I can feel fine. No, no, it's not gonna work, because this world does not operate like this. Whatever we want from outside, whatever we want from our job site, whatever we want from our family, we will have a lot of neutral feelings. We will have quite a lot of unpleasant feelings and just a little bit of pleasant feelings. It is what it is. But if we're able to transcend those three, and if we're able to learn how to experience joy that is not dependent on sense contact, on the sense organs, it is possible, then we would be able to really good despite of whatever is happening. So Buddha said for us that we're always looking in the future with hope in having pleasant feelings, right? We think, oh, let my eyes, for example, be always healthy. But in reality, if we didn't develop it from the childhood, our eyesight will eventually, at 40, at 50, at 60, start to decline. And the older we get, the worse it will become. The forms outside, they will never be only pleasant. People around us, maybe a beloved person, he or she would always change. Right now, very young and beautiful, for example. In 20 years, not very young anymore, right? Things are keep changing. So our years, the sounds outside, sometimes quiet and peaceful, sometimes noisy and loud, sometimes pleasant words, sometimes arguing. So we need to just admit that sense organs are impermanent, uncertain. We cannot predict, oh, okay, now 5 years my eyes are going to be good. We never know. Tomorrow I go outside and, I don't know, a piece of glass somehow landed in my eye and I lost my vision, right? Things can happen. So if we understand that everything is uncertain, our sensory organs are uncertain, all the sensory objects outside are uncertain, and our consciousness is uncertain, and the contact, because of these three things, are uncertain, so the contact is also uncertain. And if the contact is uncertain and impermanent, then the same for the feeling. And we don't have much control over that. We cannot choose, okay, I only want to have pleasant feelings. Things do not happen like this. I remember when I used to travel to Thailand every year to have a meditation retreat. And after that, I remember sitting on a balcony with such a beautiful view overlooking the ocean. And I thought, my goodness, I'm so at peace, so happy right now. Why can't I keep it? Let me take a little picture of that scene. And next time when I feel angry or upset or worried, let me just look at that picture, and that feeling of being just content as it is will come back to me. But of course it didn't work. Next time, 1 month later, I tried to look in the picture and it's like, yeah, that was in the past. I was near the ocean. I didn't work that time. I was just happy and peaceful with those conditions. And right now it doesn't work. So I did not understand the concept of changing, even though I thought I did. So coming back again, the Buddha said, we are seeking delight in future sense organs because we think, okay, what should I do to make myself happy? Maybe I should get a better job. And if I get a better job, I will be happy because people will be kind to me, or I will get a better salary, or it's going to be closer to my home, or whatever. In reality, things will be different. They're going to be neutral, unpleasant, and pleasant. All three things will arise, right? But we just hope to choose things in the future, and only they will bring us pleasant feelings. So Buddha said, one who seeks delight in future sense organs seeks delight in suffering. Why? Because those things are changing. And if we expect them to be only pleasant, then we start to suffer. And when one seeks delight in suffering, is not free from suffering. So how do we escape the suffering then? It is when we learn to see the reality as it is. As we learn to be present or mindful. It is the first quality of awakening. 7 factors of awakening. First one is being present. If I'm present to unpleasant, if I'm present to neutral, if I'm present to pleasant, I just notice those things without judgment, without desire to change them. I'm just here to witness them. Once I'm able to be present, I develop curiosity, the second quality, or the second factor of awakening, that is called investigation. I see how those things are connected, how one triggers another, how outside affects inside, how inside affects outside, and I try to figure out causes and effects. When I do that, I have a wish, an energy to learn more and to do better, to purify my own mind, to free myself from those conditions. This is the third quality or third factor of awakening, which is energy. And when I have this energy to do better for myself, to be free from suffering, I develop joy. This type of joy that does not need any outside pleasant sensation from the world. It's a very interesting quality, this joyfulness. You can just sit, calm down, and experience pleasant sensations. It does not mean that when looking at conflicts, at war, at looking at death of innocent people, that there is going to be a joyful feeling. But there is going to be a certain level of freedom, because the world is like this. It is full of pain. And we came here in this human rebirth to experience all the pain and pleasant feelings. And our job is to maintain the light within, not getting sucked into the darkness, when we're connected with our own purity, kindness, openness, and love and care, we are able to live through this life witnessing all the horrors, all the miracles, and gain insight through that. So, Buddha advised us that there is a way to not seek delight in what is pleasant or what is suffering, in his terms. And this is developing revulsion. Revulsion is a very interesting, strong word. And usually when people hear that, they start to think about hatred. But it is not. Revulsion is the ability to turn away. If I turn away from thinking that if I buy this house, if I get this partner, if I move to this city, then I will be happy. This is the wrong direction to look at. We need to look away from outside and start to work on our own body and mind. When we're not so dependent on sense organs and sense contact, we develop dispassion. We observe things in their nature, in their ugliness, and in their beauty. And we're able to stay quite peaceful, serene, tranquil, equanimous. These are the last 7 factors of awakening. And when we're able to do that, we are free from suffering. But this dependence on pleasant sense organs is not something that is easy to let go of. And I want to show a small video that just shows how easily it is for us to get triggered, this pleasant greed from pleasant feeling to a greed attachment. Let me try to share that right now.
It's ice cream for her birthday party. No. Legally, let go. Let go. Let go. You gotta help me, Brittany. It's ice cream for her.
So, a baby is trying sugar ice cream for the first time. And as soon as the baby feels it on the tongue, it feels such a strong desire to take more. It is good, it feels good. And just imagine how many times in your life you felt something pleasant and you wanted, I have to have it more, and that will make me happy. This conditioning is very strong, and to be able to not depend on sense organs is a long way, and there is a certain practice, there is a way to develop this freedom from our sense organs. And it starts from reflection on impermanence, on suffering and non-self, right? When we understand that whatever I think will make me happy is impermanent. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I buy something good and later on it will turn bad just because everything is dissolving. Everything will eventually die. Everything will eventually be destroyed. New things will come and they will die. This is the nature of the world, rising and ceasing. When I see the impermanence, I see the suffering nature. The more I go grasp the pleasant feelings, the more suffering I will experience. And when I understand the suffering, because no one will choose consciously to suffer, that's when I see the non-self everywhere, in myself, in other people. And in order to develop this ability to see the world through those 3 characteristics, again, there is a process. to gain this insight, we need to start from practicing wholesome karma. This is the base. If we think, okay, I want to become enlightened, and then we go and have argument with our parents, this is not gonna work. 10 wholesome karmas are based on 5 precepts, and they involve good actions by body, speech, and mind. By body, we do not hurt anyone, we don't kill anyone, we don't steal, don't take things that are not given to us, we don't violate other people's body, we don't cause any harm by cheating, no sexual misconduct, right? This is for the body. For the speech, no divisive speech, right? No gossip. Oh, he tells something about you, something bad, right? No idle chatter, just empty talks. If you want to say something meaningful. If there's nothing meaningful to be said, just stay silent. No lying and no abusive, harsh words, because words can hurt way much deeper than the knives. Words can be a weapon, or they can be a tool that creates such a good, pleasant, wholesome environment around us. When our body and speech is acting, we're acting through them according to wholesome deeds, we can notice that our mind is not so easily controlled, right? It is easy maybe not to say bad words, but anger still exists in the mind, and that is okay. Take time. So other 3 good deeds in the mind, greed, hatred, and delusion, there cannot be stopped immediately. Once you're able to do that, you're already fully enlightened person. So before expecting yourself to do that, just start by observing body and speech. When you do not create conflicts by following those precepts, you have ability to be mindful. Because mindfulness is not easy. If you ever tried, okay, right now I want to be aware of everything, aware of my body, aware of my feelings, and I will not fly with my thoughts somewhere else, and I will not wander in the past or in the future. I'm going to be just present here and now. And you notice it is not easy to do, because there are a lot of things, the past bad karmic deeds or past conditioning are pulling us back. Whenever we're able to do good deeds, we're free and we're able to be present in the present moment. When we're able to be mindful, this is where we can develop concentration. Again, if you had a question why I meditate for many years every day, but I didn't gain any kind of level of jhana or ability to have a good concentration or absorption, it is because those first 2 things are not developed yet. So with a concentrated mind, the one that can keep one object in front of it and do not lose it for at least, I don't know, half an hour maybe. When you have this ability, then the insight is happening. Whatever was told to you right now, or whatever you read before, it doesn't matter how many times people say that to you, that the world is impermanent. It doesn't matter how many times you intellectually agree with that, unless you have this ability to gain a real insight, like, oh, it's actually impermanent. I should stop caring of grasping things outside. I should do better inside my mind, with my actions by body, speech, and mind, until you're able to see the reality of changing nature, the reality of unsatisfactory nature, the reality of non-self. Again, it doesn't matter how many times people will say that to you, you would not have this real knowledge. Intellectual knowledge is just a superficial knowledge, another one that you really get an insight into that. And the last thing I would like to mention today is I created this talk in December. right? When I was in my personal retreat. But then after coming out of the retreat, I was presented with certain conditions that did not allow me to be fully withdrawn, right? I had to help. I had to help someone who was in real distress and who didn't receive the help that I thought he needed. So I didn't know how to help either. But I decided to make sure to find a way to do so. And I think I did. I think I did find a way. And in that process, as I mentioned in the beginning, I lost my voice because I was not sure what's going on. Things kept changing for me and for my understanding of my personal path and personal truth. And I discovered a very interesting way of unconditioning ourselves. So there is a topic of unconditioned, which is Nibbana. And Nibbana cannot be explained through the words. Nibbana is a certain state where no conditions, changing conditions, exist. But we are very much conditioned human beings. And I want to tell the story that I read one time about one psychologist who was attending some kind of kindergarten event, and kids were asked to learn a poem and read it out loud. And maybe 10 kids went to present it. Everyone got a chance to say things and they were applauded too, and everyone was happy. But the time ran out, and there was one last girl who didn't have a chance to read her poem out loud. And she was told to, sorry, we're done. Maybe you can tell us the poem later on. And of course, that would be forgotten. And the psychologist was witnessing that, and she saw that the girl froze, completely froze in that moment. And even though mom let her aside and sat her in a chair and tried to say nice, good words, the girl was just like physically frozen there. And psychologist went to talk to her, and the girl was like, okay, okay. Doesn't show like very visible signs of distress, but because psychologist was a trained one, she noticed that it is a micro trauma. She asked the girl to say the poem out loud, and the girl refused to until few attempts, when psychologists like, I really want to listen what you have to say. I think whatever you learn is important. I would love to hear it from you. And this is where the girl opened up and her body unfroze. This is one of the events which every one of us went through, I don't know, hundreds of those events. We think that to have a trauma is to have a horrific event. Yes, it is. But besides that, even those tiny bits in that information, what the girl received from her natural state of mind, she received the conditioning in a sense. People told her a lie. Whatever you learned is not important. Your voice is not impermanent. You're not worthy of listening to. People do not have time for you, and so on. And when we receive this kind of lies, conditions from our parents, from our classmates, from our friends, from our teachers, we lose the puzzles from our body when we become frozen, And when we grow up, in the moment when the situation triggers this memory, someone, for that girl, for example, if she would not be able to let it go, in the work, the meeting is over and she wanted to say something but was not able to, well, the meeting is over, what's the point? Not a big deal, right? But because she has this history of trauma, she would become very upset, and maybe she will start crying or complaining, you never listen to me, no one cares about me, no one loves me. Have you ever witnessed that? I witnessed that a lot when people do not act like adults. Something triggers them and they act like, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years old, 7 years old child. And this moment, when we receive this lie, when someone as if telling to us that we're not important, we're not worthy of love, and so on, they condition us into becoming somewhat of a very painful creature. But there is a way to uncondition when you unpack this event or trauma, right? When you understand that you are worthy. For my own, I had a very, very deep spiritual experience, thankfully for a great person, great being that is called Annika Lucas. I, as an adult, in a meditation, met myself being 6 years old. And I was feeling very much alone and misunderstood, uncared, even though I had a perfect parents. I have a very nice family. I've always been cared for. Nothing bad happens to me. But I just remember being so left out, ignored. I felt like everyone around me so busy, and no one really, really understands me. And in my deep meditation, this girl, me, 6 years old me, looked at the eyes of me being an adult, and she understood that all her life she was looking for someone who would really care, who would really understand, who would see her as her own true self. And I realized that I found that person, and that person was me. Through that deep meditation, that deep experience, very meaningful experience to me, I was able to unify my child self with my adult self. And we became one. And I realized for me to be happy, I don't need anyone. I don't need anything to happen to make me happy. I'm free being that is pure, that is bright, that is so whole, so satisfied within, that right now I don't have to work on helping myself anymore. I have a very strong wish to go and help others. I decided to disrobe. I'm not a nun anymore, and I went out to the world to find better ways to help people. I want to volunteer in prison. I want to help kids who are abused. Probably it's not going to be an easy road. It's going to be full of unpleasant sensations, but they cannot stain my real bright nature. And there is a way to uncondition ourselves from all those events from the past. And when I was able to do that, I became very much attuned to my pre-birth experience, which I have a little memories of, and the life become so meaningful for me. And I hope there are a lot of people who are working on bringing this light and understanding into this world of darkness, in our very dark period right now in the universe. And I hope our work will be successful.